Carl Cameron broke the news today in Florida, and here's why. Here's the poll the latest poll, the Real Clear Politics average that he was looking at, trailing Marco Rubio there, the former House Speaker, by double digits. Then there's a new Rasmussen Reports poll that has it very close, and this tracks with the recent Quinnipiac poll, as Charlie Crist is an independent. Marco Rubio is still with the lead there. What about all of this? Let's bring in our panel. Steve Hayes, senior writer for the Weekly Standard, A.B. Stoddard, associate editor of The Hill, and syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer. A.B.
Well, I'm sitting in the Charlie Crist seat, I noticed.
Yes.
But I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not surprised. He had no choice. It was an easy decision to realize 20 points behind or more in the polls that he couldn't win the Republican primary, Charlie Crist. But I think that the next couple of days and weeks will be very difficult ones. Do you have Republican staff that leaves you? Do you tell the voters of Florida that you are going to caucus with Harry Reid and the Democrats when you get to town if you win this race? Or are you going to vote for Mitch McConnell for leader and be hanging out with and voting with Republicans? These are questions we have no idea the answers to. A very steep uphill. Do his donors want their money back? What kind of basis is there in the political class for him to run an independent bid? I would note, though, that Kendrick Meek, the Democratic candidate, is a very weak player, and I do think that a governor like Charlie Crist, who now has the teachers' unions loving him, who is a lifelong member of the NAACP, and very active in the United Negro College Fund, I think he's going to give Kendrick Meek a run for his money. He was a once very
with
popular
Democratic
governor.
voters.
Yes.
How much does this hurt Rubio and the Republicans, Steve?
Well, I think it obviously would have been better for Rubio if he would have defeated Crist soundly in a Republican primary. So in that sense, I think it hurts. But you have so many questions about Charlie Crist. And this kind of move, I mean, it was interesting watching that you play the Chris Wallace soundbite again. He was so painfully uncomfortable because I think he knew at the time that he was strongly considering running as an independent, and that's why Chris asked him so many times. So I think he knew at the time he wasn't telling the truth. The question, I think, the real difficulty Charlie Crist faces now is what are his principles? What does he run on? You can't run on just being a politician. You can't run on just being a guy. He hasn't done that much as governor. His approval ratings have plummeted over the past year. He's made statements about what he was going to do, how he was going to run as Republican. He's backed off of those. He used to be opposed to drilling offshore. Then when he was being considered as a potential vice presidential candidate, he was in favor of it. Now he's opposed to it again. He couldn't say yesterday who he was going to caucus with, Republicans or Democrats. I mean, I think voters are willing to forgive a lot, but they want somebody who actually believes something other than himself.
And for control of the Senate, potentially in the balance, even though it's a stretch for Republicans to get all 10, who he's going to caucus with is a big deal, Charles.
It's important, and the fact is that you could ask him today, and no matter what answer he gives, you won't believe him, because we now know that the pledges he make have a 3-week expiration date. So if he tells you he'll caucus Republican or Democratic, there's no reason you'd believe him. I think he does have a chance, even though he doesn't stand for anything that I can particularly see, because if Democrats and liberals in Florida think strategically, they will decide that Meeks is not a guy they want to back in the end because he's going to lose. And if you want at least somebody who's not Rubio, who really is, I think he's the Barack Obama of the Republicans. He is to the party what Obama was in 05, 04. You know, young, attractive, articulate, ethnic, and sort of embodying a kind of ideology. I think he'd have a very strong chance. I think Democrats might split off and go for Crist.
Okay.